Have you ever played by the rules, been kind, honest, hard-working, only to be overlooked or worse, taken advantage of? Maybe you grew up believing that goodness always wins in the end. But let's be honest. How many times have you watched someone with zero depth, no real talent, rise above someone truly decent? It's brutal, but it's real. The world doesn't reward kindness alone. It rewards strategy. This is where a misunderstood genius steps in. Niccolò Machiavelli. Often reduced to a symbol of manipulation, he was actually a sharp observer of human nature. He saw what most prefer to ignore. People are selfish, often cruel, and they'll wear a smile while using you. In The Prince, he made it painfully clear. Virtue without cunning is weakness. Pure-hearted people are easy prey. So let me ask you, honestly, have you been that prey? Have you ever given your all, only to be ignored, or worse, exploited by people who seem to always walk away with the reward? If this hits home, this video is for you. Now, I'm not telling you to become someone you hate. You don't need to turn cold or cruel. But it's time you wake up. It's time to balance your values with tactical wisdom, your heart with your mind. It's time to learn how to be good without being naive, to earn respect without giving up your core values. Stay sharp. What you'll hear next might change how you see everyone around you. How many times have you done everything right and still felt like you were left behind? You gave your best, your time, energy, honesty, believing it would matter. But instead of recognition, you got silence. Instead of support, you got overlooked. And maybe, just maybe, someone else walked away with everything you hoped to earn. It's not just frustrating, it cuts deep. That sinking feeling when someone takes credit for your work. When your loyalty is met with betrayal. You were taught that being kind and fair would be enough, that life had a moral logic. But what if that belief is the very thing holding you back? Think about the people you've trusted, the ones you stood by. When the roles were reversed, where were they? Absent, indifferent. And the truth starts to sink in. The world doesn't operate by the same code you were raised with. While you're being transparent, others are calculating. While you're showing up, they're positioning. It happens everywhere. At work, in relationships, even in friendships. You help someone in good faith, and they use that help to get ahead, stepping over you without blinking. Or that friend you always supported, gone the second you needed anything real in return. It feels like injustice, like emotional robbery. We were conditioned to believe that the right thing would eventually win, but goodness, without discernment, becomes a liability. It makes you a target in a world that rewards strategy more than sincerity. Machiavelli said it clearly. Excess virtue without cunning is not strength, it's exposure. So now you're at a crossroads. Will you keep hoping things will be fair? Or will you finally start seeing reality for what it is and move with precision, not just good intentions? To understand why goodness alone isn't enough, we need to look at the man who dared to say it out loud, Niccolò Machiavelli. Maybe you've heard his name tossed around as a symbol of cold strategy or ruthless power, but the truth is far more complex and far more relevant than most realize. Machiavelli lived in 16th century Italy during one of the most chaotic periods in European history, a time of betrayal, power struggles, and constant political upheaval. Surrounded by lies, shifting alliances, and public masks, he watched how people really behaved when survival was on the line, and he didn't look away. Instead of sugarcoating human nature, he exposed it. In his most infamous book, The Prince, he wrote not to charm, but to awaken. He said what few dared to admit: people are driven by self-interest, and those who pretend otherwise usually end up deceived. One of his most quoted lines still stings: "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." That wasn't a call for cruelty. It was a wake-up call. Machiavelli wasn't teaching people to be heartless. He was teaching them to be real. He knew that pure intentions, when left unguarded, could become an open wound. And that's why his words still matter today. They speak to the unchanging part of human nature. Look around you. Centuries have passed, but the dynamics remain. In politics, business, and culture, the people who rise often aren't the most virtuous. They're the most strategic. They understand power. They shape perception. They act with precision while others still wait for fairness. So now, with this context, you're not just hearing Machiavelli's ideas, you're seeing your world through them. Not to become someone you're not, but to ensure that your values are never again your weakness. Picture this. You show up early, work hard, help your team, and give your best to every project. You believe that effort counts, that integrity will speak for itself, and that the system will eventually reward those who do the right thing. But then it happens. The promotion goes to someone who barely tried, someone who talks more than they deliver. You're left stunned, frustrated, maybe even angry. And deep down, a quiet truth starts to emerge. This isn't rare. It's routine. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. Virtue without strategy doesn't just limit you. It exposes you. It turns you into the easy target in a world that values perception over substance. We live in an age where image has become everything. Social media, personal branding, fast-paced networking. It all rewards the ones who know how to be seen. And those who only focus on being good without learning how to manage perception end up invisible. Or worse, used. Because in this world, goodness without awareness is weakness. It's being a lamb among wolves. You can keep working hard, hoping someone notices, but eventually, someone who understands the game will take your place. Because they're not just good, they're strategic. That's the shift you need. Not to abandon your values, but to sharpen them. To learn when to speak and when to stay quiet. When to help and when to hold back. It's about evolving from naive to precise, from well-meaning to respected. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop being prey? Are you willing to let go of the fantasy that goodness is enough and finally see what it really takes to be powerful without losing your soul? Think of someone you deeply respect. It could be a leader, a creator, a public figure whose presence demands attention. Now be honest, do you respect them because they're nice? Or is there something else? A sense of power, a certain edge, maybe even a hint of intimidation that keeps people from crossing them? Machiavelli put it plainly. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. At first, that sounds harsh, maybe even unsettling. We all want to be liked. But respect isn't built on sweetness. It's built on presence. And presence is built on strength. The truth is this: people respect those who set boundaries, who speak with conviction, who balance kindness with clarity. When someone is just nice, they're often dismissed or taken for granted. But when kindness is paired with firm limits, that's when admiration turns into authority. Look at the creators and voices you follow online. The ones who stand out aren't always the most agreeable. They're the ones who are clear, direct, intentional. They don't chase approval, they project certainty. That's what draws people in. That's what makes their words carry weight. So, no, it's not about becoming cold or detached. It's about understanding how respect works. Being feared in the Machiavellian sense isn't about threats. It's about commanding space. It's about making sure no one takes your words lightly or mistakes your kindness for weakness. Now ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as someone pleasant or as someone who left an impression? Because in a world full of noise, those who earn true respect are those who know exactly when to be kind and exactly when to be unshakable. How many times have you seen someone clearly less competent than you rise faster, earn more, or gain influence effortlessly? You look at them and wonder, how is this possible? How does someone with such little substance end up ahead, while people with real depth keep getting passed over? The answer is as uncomfortable as it is true. Perception is reality. In a world obsessed with impressions, what people see often matters more than what is. Talent alone won't get you there. Kindness alone won't protect you. What matters is how well you manage your image, how well you control the narrative around you. This isn't just about appearances, it's about influence. Politicians, influencers, public figures, they win not because they're the best, but because they know how to look like they are. They shape stories, they craft presence, they understand what Machiavelli knew long ago. The power of seeming is greater than the power of being. That doesn't mean you fake who you are. It means you stop leaving your image to chance. Because while you focus on truth, others are shaping perception. And perception moves people. It shapes decisions. It builds careers or destroys them. So here's the question. Are you just hoping people will see your value? Or are you making sure they can't ignore it? Because if you're not, mastering perception, someone else is doing it better and walking away with the life you thought you deserved. Have you ever noticed how the people who speak less often command more respect? We live in a culture that glorifies transparency, but sometimes oversharing is the very thing that weakens you. The more you reveal, the more you give others power over you, and Machiavelli knew this long before it became a modern problem. Think about the last time you opened up to someone, maybe at work or in a personal relationship. You shared your dreams, your fears, maybe even your insecurities, hoping it would create trust. But later, you realized those words had been turned against you. Not always maliciously, but subtly. Your openness became a tool in someone else's game. Information is power, and power isn't given away for free. It's not about lying or hiding. It's about discernment. In high-stakes environments, the people who rise know exactly what to say, when to say it, and most importantly, what to keep to themselves. They always hold something back. That's what gives them leverage. In meetings, the ones who dominate aren't the loudest. They're the most intentional. They don't flood the room with talk. They speak rarely, but with weight. They know that mystery creates presence. That silence isn't absence, it's control. And in relationships, it's no different. People who reveal too much too soon lose their gravity. The mystery is gone. The pull disappears. Those who manage their expression with intention, who don't explain everything, who let silence speak, they draw others in, not push them away. From now on, ask yourself before you speak, will this strengthen my position or weaken it? Choose your words like a strategist. Let others fill the silence while you listen. Because those who master the flow of information don't just earn respect, they become untouchable. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. When your reactions are always the same, when your choices follow a pattern, when others know exactly what you'll do next, you become transparent. And transparency, in a strategic world, is weakness, but unpredictability, that's power. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He knew that to maintain control, you must first disrupt others' expectations. When people can't anticipate your next move, they lose the ability to control you. You become a question mark, an anomaly, and nothing earns more respect than someone who can't be cornered. Look at the people who dominate public space, leaders, creators, disruptors. What they all share isn't just talent, but a certain mystery. They pivot, they surprise, they don't give away their strategy. That unpredictability creates presence, and presence creates power. In your relationships, in your career, in your choices, if people can predict every step you take, they'll start playing you. But if your actions don't follow a script, if you respond with calm when anger is expected, or step back when closeness is assumed, you shift the dynamic. You unsettle expectations. You take control. This isn't about chaos. It's about intention. It's about breaking patterns on purpose, about choosing when to be still and when to disrupt. Because those who are unpredictable don't just protect themselves, they control the tempo of the game. And in any power dynamic, that's everything. Have you ever lost your temper in the heat of the moment and instantly felt your power vanish? Maybe it was in a tense conversation, a negotiation, or an argument you didn't see coming. And in that exact moment when you reacted, something shifted. You gave the other person control. Machiavelli saw what most people still ignore. Real power isn't about volume or aggression. It's about emotional command. The person who stays calm while everyone else is unraveling becomes the anchor in the storm. They don't just hold their ground, they own the room. Think of the leaders you admire. They rarely raise their voice. They don't explode or lash out. They choose their tone. Their silence is deliberate. Their composure is unsettling in the best way. Because when someone refuses to be emotionally hijacked, they become unshakable. And people notice. Bring that into your life. The next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, your reaction is your responsibility. You can lash out and lose your presence, or you can breathe, pause, and respond from a place of clarity. The moment you choose the second path, you regain control, not just of the situation, but of yourself. In every space you enter, professional, personal, digital, the one who masters their emotions becomes untouchable, because a person who cannot be provoked is a person who cannot be controlled. And that, more than anything else, is the mark of real inner strength. Anything that's always available loses value. It's basic economics and human psychology. Gold is precious because it's rare. And in the same way, your constant availability can quietly destroy your perceived worth. But when you learn to step back intentionally, your presence begins to carry weight. Imagine this. You're always the one reaching out, always available, always eager to respond. At first, it may feel generous, but over time, it becomes expected, predictable. Eventually, it becomes overlooked, because in a world of attention overload, what's common becomes invisible. Now flip that. You become less accessible. You take time to respond. You're present when it matters, but not constantly exposed. Suddenly, your absence creates curiosity. People start wondering what you're doing, why you're quiet, and what you're thinking. Your silence becomes presence. Your scarcity becomes power. Brands do this. Artists do this. Leaders do this. They don't flood the stage. They choose their moments. And when they appear, everyone pays attention. Not because they're loud, but because they've created anticipation through absence. And anticipation amplifies impact. So understand this. Strategic absence isn't rejection. It's positioning. It's a conscious choice to become rare. Because the rarer you are, the more others value your presence. And in a world drowning in noise, the ones who know when to disappear are the ones we remember most when they return. We live in an era addicted to speed. Everyone wants the shortcut, the instant reward, the overnight success. But ask yourself, how many things have you ruined by rushing? How many opportunities slipped away because you acted too fast, spoke too soon, or forced what wasn't ready? Machiavelli knew what most people still refuse to accept. True power belongs to those who can wait, not out of passivity, but with purpose. Strategic patience is the art of holding still while others waste energy. It's the discipline of timing, waiting not out of fear, but because you know the right moment changes everything. Think back, that conversation you pushed, that deal you forced, that relationship you tried to define before it matured. Each time, the rush created resistance. You tried to control timing and lost control of the outcome. Now imagine if you had waited, watched, let the other person move first. Let the conditions ripen. Patience isn't weakness, it's a weapon. The calm strategist watches the field while others burn out. And when they finally act, there's no hesitation, because their move comes at the perfect moment, when the door opens, not when they try to force it. So from now on, don't confuse stillness with inaction. Don't mistake silence for surrender. Strategic patience is movement in disguise, and those who master it don't just win. They win with precision, while everyone else is still trying to figure out what happened. By now, you see the game for what it is. But the final step isn't just learning the rules. It's becoming the kind of person the rules weren't designed for. The one who doesn't just survive the system, but transcends it. That's what it means to become an anomaly. Look around. Most people follow the script. They move in predictable cycles, repeat inherited beliefs, and settle for safe limitations. They live on autopilot. But the ones who rise, the ones we remember, are the ones who refuse to fit in. They don't break rules out of rebellion. They rewrite the context completely. To become an anomaly is to disrupt the expectations placed on you. It's about living with such intention, such sharp self-awareness, that people can't categorize you. You stop moving like the crowd. You start moving like someone who answers only to their higher alignment. Think of the icons you admire. They didn't succeed by blending in. They weren't just good at what they did. They were different, unpredictable, uncomfortable to some, but unforgettable to all. Because they weren't shaped by the world, they shaped the world around them. This isn't about ego or rebellion. It's about refusing to let mediocrity dull your spirit. It's about honoring your values with the strength to protect them, the wisdom to adapt, and the courage to stand alone when necessary. An anomaly is not born, it is chosen, and the choice begins the moment you decide to stop playing small. You've made it this far for a reason. Deep down, you felt it. Something needs to change. Maybe your whole life you believed that being kind, fair, and honest would be enough, that life would eventually recognize your effort. But now, you see the truth. Without strategy, your goodness becomes your greatest vulnerability. And now you have a choice. You can close this video and return to the same patterns. Transparent, over-available, reactive, easy to read. You can keep waiting for fairness in a world that doesn't reward innocence. Or you can step into something different. You can reclaim your presence. You can become the version of yourself that moves with precision, who speaks less but says more, who controls what they reveal, masters their emotions, and disappears when necessary, who watches the field before making a move and strikes when it matters. Where do you want to be a year from now? Still wondering why others move ahead while you stay stuck? Or finally commanding respect, not by chance, but by design? This isn't about abandoning your values. It's about defending them intelligently. It's about becoming the kind of person the world can't ignore anymore. The difference between those who grow and those who stay lost isn't knowledge, it's courage. And now you have the tools. The only thing left is to use them. So, here's your challenge. In your next conversation, say less than you want to. Let the silence speak. Notice how the room shifts. If you truly felt the weight of this message, drop this phrase in the comments. Power lives in silence. Let's see who's really ready to live with clarity, precision, and inner strength.